What's up, YouTube, and welcome to a special automotive tour. Today we're going to take a look at the special Alfa Romeo exhibit at the LeMay Auto Museum in Tacoma, Washington. I've been to this museum a couple times, but they do rotating displays, and this is one of the coolest ones I've ever seen. This just started, I believe, in June 21 and is, I think, going to run for a whole year. So we'll take a little walking tour here. I don't know, right now I got a little bit of a lull in the action. I can show you a couple of the cars. And here is a classic 1932 Alfa Monza 8C 2300. A very classic piece of their racing history. Sorry, the sun is glaring pretty bad from that one side, but I think I can overcome it on the over here. This one has some patina, which is awesome. Walk over to this side and show you a few of my favorites already. Some really nice pieces of the exhibit here. Give you a look at this one. I love the flared fenders on this Alfeta. And you're going to get to listen to me test my Italian today, because some of these cars have some pretty out there names for the models. But this is a 1976 Alpheta Gt. It was custom flared fenders for a local shop in Tacoma is actually what it said, like an Alpha parts shop. And based on some of the racing Alphetas that they had in Europe at the time. Really nice design. And we'll come over here and see kind of its counterpart, but in bone stock form. This is a 1979 Sprint Veloce, and I believe a one-owner car. Very, very well kept. These were known to rust incredibly, as most early Alphas were. So to see one in this condition is pretty amazing. Come over here, and we'll see a 1964 Julia Tz1 Gtz1. I don't know this car that well. Obviously a part of the racing history also. You see the number 33 a lot in Alfa lore. And one thing I'll point out on this one is this was one of the Zagato bodied cars. Got the Z logo there. They were known for coach building some pretty out there Alphas. Looks pretty good. Over here is a car that I typically see a white version of at some of the local car shows in St. Louis. And this was a Bertone bodied Alfa. This one is a Julieta Sprint Speciale. It's a mouthful. Not huge on this one, actually. I kind of think it looks a little bathtub-ish. Almost like a Porsche 356, but even more so bathtub-ish. But not too bad. Has some cool taillights, I do want to point that out. I don't know if black is the color for this. It doesn't really pop in black, but regardless, pretty cool. We'll come over here and we're going to see quite possibly my favorite of this whole exhibit. This is an Alfa Romeo Montreal, and I absolutely love this model. It was one of the Bertone designed cars of the late 60s, early 70s. I believe they only made these for about 3 years, and they never were officially sold in the US. But you can get them in left-hand drive, which is awesome. And then, of course, the party trick is those really neat headlight covers that flip up. So the headlights themselves don't pop up, but the covers do. It's pretty neat to see in action. Really cool vents on the side. I like the design of that a lot. And this one's a 1972 model. Very, very stylish. Over here is a 1999 Alfa Romeo Gtb, and this was a model that came out shortly after Alfa pulled out of the US market the first time. I always thought these looked really good. I believe they're front-wheel drive, which is kind of a detriment, but otherwise it's a really cool design, and resembles the Fiat Coupe of the time also. Says this one's a Japanese import. They're not officially legal in the US yet because this one's a 99, but it was imported to Canada under the 15-year rule. So they are obviously legal in Canada, and I'm sure they're enjoying those up in the Canadian provinces right now. But this is one I would definitely like to drive at some point. I think they really look cool. It's a Pininfarina body. As I was saying, all these coach builders and designers that Alfa worked with over the years, it's really a big mixed bag, and they all do a pretty good job of making some pretty classic designs. I'll give you a shot of the interior. Kind of a little more modern than some of the other ones we've been looking at. So we're going to take a little bit of a jog, and I'll show you some really cool stuff in the corner here. Sorry, I'm going to try to avoid that light again, as it is bearing in pretty well. But this corner had some really cool stuff. Just feels like it's kind of an afterthought corner, but to me it's some of the best stuff here. It's a 1986 Sprint 1.5 Quadrifoglio Verde. And this is a model I believe I saw on a Wheeler Dealers episode when Ed China was still on the show. We never got this one in the US. It's a little bit smaller than the GTV that they sold here, and I believe it had a smaller engine, but I think it's a really cool 80s looking design. And I believe it might have been based on the Alfa Sud model. Not positive about that. Again, my knowledge is a little foggier on the ones that we never saw here in the US, but I think it's a really great looking car. Over here is one they did sell in the US, and this was actually the final model of Alfa Romeo in the US for their first run. This is the 164. These are front wheel drive as well. Always like the design of these. This one's the L model, so it's the more luxury design. Doesn't have the Quadrifoglio Sport Pack and all that, but I do think they're really good looking cars. Over here is one that I would love to own. This is a 2004 147 GTA model with the flared fenders. Obviously not legal here, and this one is right-hand drive, but at some point these will be able to be imported. And talk about a hot hatch. What a great looking car. This just has so much more presence than something like a Volkswagen GTI. I just think it's so cool. And then over here is kind of a more pedestrian model that we never got here. This is the 156 Sport Wagon. Best thing about these is the rear pillar. If you notice, it has the door handle on the front there, and then it looks like it's almost shaved on the back door, but the handle was incorporated into the rear pillar there. Pretty neat design. I don't think this one's like a sport model or anything. It looks like just kind of the common family hauler. Alfa obviously did make some more generic things just for families to purchase. Not everything was a race car, but I think that's pretty cool that that's here. So we're going to walk back over to the center. Honestly, I'm really surprised I'm getting some uninterrupted time to film here, because there were a lot of people walking through this exhibit a few minutes ago. But I'll show you this 1968 Julia Super. And obviously the Julia model is still sold in the US today, so it's their long-running sedan series. This one is kind of the top-of-the-line sporty version. It's really squat, is what I think about this. Obviously very boxy, too. I like the door handles. Have a kind of funky design to them. And we come back here. Show you the rear of the Julia. And then this is a beautiful coupe here. I believe this is also a Julia. I'll have to double check the tag on it. But very nice 50s style. Not sure who the coach builder was on this, or if Alfa maybe did it in-house. But really, really stylish. Alright, this is, oh, it's actually a Spider, okay. This is a 2000 Spider, so not sure if they sold this model in the US or not. They might have at that time. 1959 is a little bit before my car knowledge. Has some neat little badges on the hood here I'm going to show you. Yeah, I may not be able to see that, but I believe it's Touring, which I think also was a coach builder, so maybe Touring was the one that designed this. Obviously front and center in the display because it's so cool looking. So we're going to come over here and show you a few more. It's a 1957 Julieta Spider, so I believe this is like the smaller Spider that they also sold during that time. This one would have been a little bit more of an everyman sports car, but definitely has a great look to it. Really nice lines. Another Pininfarina design. I like that. And over here is one that I'm much more familiar with. These were sold kind of during my childhood, so this is a very rare top-of-the-line model. This is a 1990 Alfa Spider, but it's the Quadrifoglio. And not only that, it has the body kit as well as the hardtop, which I believe was an option at that time. And it has these polished wheels on it too, which I don't think I've ever seen on one of these. Maybe I did back then and I just don't remember it, but I'm thinking that had to be an option too, or maybe the owner added that. Another long-lasting Pininfarina design. These essentially were the same from like 1967 all the way up to 1994 or something like that. They had an incredibly long life. And they kept adding body refreshes and things to keep it fresh, but this is one of the very later models. Has the incorporated rubber spoiler at the back, which I think is very cool. Nice piece of the rad era. And then I just like these ridges in the hardtop design. I always thought that was really neat. I'm guessing they're vents, or maybe it's just for aesthetic purposes. You can see the shifter in this comes like directly out of the dash, not out of the console. It's always been known to be a little bit of a funky feature of those. And then I'll show you the rest of the exhibit over here. This is a 1900 Super Sprint Zagato, a 1955 model. Again, Zagato did a lot of coach building for Alfas, but they were kind of the more special ones. They were usually very limited production, had a little bit more out there designs, like I said before, and I really like some of the Zagato work. They also did work with Lancia and some of the other Italian brands. And then over here is a 1900C Super Sprint, a 1955 model. So I'm thinking this is like the standard version of it, and then the Zagato is the coach-built version if you want a little bit more pizzazz. So you can kind of do a side-by-side and compare some of the little extra features you get with the Zagato. Over here is a very popular Alfa model with collectors. This is the GTV. It's a 1967, which I believe is one of the earlier models years of this car. I always liked these, but I don't love them. It's kind of weird. Like, they were, you know, they're top of the line sport coupe, but I liked some of the much later GTVs, like of the 80s, a lot more than these. Because this is an early model, this one has the single headlights on each corner, and then the later ones incorporated dual headlights on each corner, so you had like a quad headlight look, or driving light look, I should say. And here is a GTA that's been tuned for racing. It's a 1969 GTA 1300 Junior. Looks really good, all kitted out with the clover leafs. And then, of course, we need to look at Alfa's strange design of the man getting eaten by the snake. That's part of their logo. That is officially part of the Alfa logo. And then here is another GTV that's been fitted for racing. It's a 1970 GTA M, and has some nice classic decals on it. Really nice mustardy looking color on this one. And then this one has the quad headlights that I was referring to. I like the look of this a lot better on the later GTVs. But overall, that is pretty much the display. I really think they did a nice job with this. I'm glad I made time to stop by on my trip. And hopefully you enjoyed this look at Alfa Romeo history. This is something we don't get to see a lot in the US because this brand is not nearly as known here as it is in Europe, especially Italy. But I respect the legacy. I would love to own an Alfa someday. I just know it is a handful, whatever model you stick with. But I really appreciate the beauty and design of these cars and think they're really cool. So hopefully you enjoyed this look at the Alfa Romeo exhibit. Thanks for watching. Please take a moment, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think. And I will talk to you soon. Have a great day or night, wherever you are.